pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, good evening. Welcome to the Board of Adjustment hearing. A few items to cover before we get started. Please sign in at the door. Detailed handle of the step-by-step procedure, if you want one, is available there. Put electronics devices on silent mode. All testimony is being recorded for the record. Members of the Board of Adjustment are appointed by the County Board of Commissioners with one member from each of the 5 commissioner districts. Land Services staff is here to assist the Board of Adjustment with its duties. The task of the Board of Adjustments is to consider requests for variances and appeals from an order, requirement, or decision made by a county zoning official in accordance with the state law and county ordinance. Each request is considered on its own merit. The burden of proving a practical difficulty rests with the applicant. If a variance is granted, it is granted to the land, not to the landowner. There is a protocol for all will proceed. For each variance request on the agenda, we will hear a staff report, hear testimony from the applicants, then the board will discuss and gather more information as needed. Next, I will ask if there is anyone in the audience wishing to speak to the record or to the request. I will also ask each party to come to the podium, state their name and address for the record, and give their testimony. Please be as factual as possible and direct all statements and questions to me. After all testimony is complete, I will close the public hearing portion of the process. The board will then review and discuss the case in terms of our finding of fact criteria as required by Minnesota statute and county ordinance. We will have a series of votes, discuss whether conditions will be made, have a final motion to approve or deny the request based on those findings. After this final vote on your request, you may leave if you wish. Okay, on the agenda tonight, we have one application, Timothy and Amy Holton Trust. Will the applicant come forward? This is 30952 Falden Road, Cushing. Application for variance to add on to a non-conforming structure. It's in Scandia Valley on Lake Alexander. Applicant, please state your name for the record.
Yep, Tim Holton.
Thank you. And the staff report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Section 706, specifically 706.1, states 75-foot setback on a general development lake. What we have here is a non-conforming structure, and 706.3 states non-conforming lots and structures shall be allowed or shall follow the provisions of section 3.1 of this ordinance, except that a change in roof pitch on the principal structure, or principal dwelling that increases the overall height but does not result in a gained living space shall be allowed with a permit if it meets the height allowance of 706.2. This is a plat map showing Scandia Valley Township with the red dot showing the area of the application. This is the request that was submitted. This is a survey submitted by the applicant showing the existing structures and the proposed addition. Here's some architectural drawings of the proposed addition. And some interior drawings of the existing conditions. And then this would be the proposed drawings of what the proposed addition would look like with the existing structure. The stormwater plan that was submitted, and the site plan that goes along with that. And then another addition to their stormwater plan describing their plans here for capturing rainwater with gutters and a buffer. Here's an aerial view of the parcel of land. An oblique image showing the house in tan, and then the white roof would be the garage. This is from the lakeside looking at it. As you can see, it's mostly covered in cattails. So this is a view from the driveway side of things, looking towards the lake. This would be the driveway that isn't really a driveway. This is a view from standing at the shoreline towards the property with the pink flagging outlining the proposed addition. Kind of another similar view from the standing near the water, showing the kind of outline of where the addition would be. This is the shoreline facing towards the front of the home from the lake. Again, looking up towards that garage again. This is the shoreline looking towards the other direction, going towards the back of the pond area. This is the view standing kind of on top of the hill, kind of where the addition kind of is towards the lake. Kind of showing the buffer area that was drawn in that site plan. So the property is located in Scandia Valley Township. It's on Lake Alexander, which is a general development lake. The property is a conforming single lot, which means it has 30,000 square feet and 120 feet wide. The property is 186 feet wide and 39,000 square feet and a little over in size. The property is on Fulden Addition subdivision. This subdivision was established in 1968. According to the assessor records, a 1,469 square foot home was built in 1989. That home was permitted to be 50 feet from the ordinary high water mark. Per the survey, the home is 63 feet and the deck is 55 feet from the lake. Research into past ordinances show that between 72 and 91, the required setback to a general development lake was 100 feet, but allowed for buildings to align with existing structures, but no closer than 50 feet. In 1991, that setback was reduced to 75 feet, and the setback averaging was removed. A 3,726 square foot building envelope is available on the property. The applicant purchased the property in 2008. The applicant requests a variance to place an 18 by 20 single-story addition onto the existing home. The addition would be on the south side of the cabin and be 65 feet from the lake. The addition would be partially within the building envelope. So the green line blue line shows the building envelope, and that looks like that due to the pond that continues along the south side, and then the road right-of-way that extends into the property. The addition is outlined in the reddish-pink color, and then the actual setback shown in yellow for 75 feet. Well, or less in these instances, 65 with the addition and 55 to the deck. The impervious surface, including the addition, is at 10%. 25% impervious is allowed. The comprehensive plan goals, again, I won't read them since they're in your staff report, but natural resource and protection, goal C2, shoreline development, goal D1, and then our surface water goals, objectives B, land use development goals, objective B and D. 57 notices were sent and no comment was received prior to the hearing. And these are your findings of fact and decision questions. That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Darren.
Yeah.
Yes, viewing on the 9th, was that Wednesday? Thursday the 9th. Clint, myself, and Darren met out at the property. The applicant was not present. When did the other board members go? Brent?
I was able to view it today.
Today?
And I was there on Friday, last Friday.
Okay. For the record, just need to show that
Yeah,
we viewed the property.
Dave,
Yes.
I just want to clarify that, yeah, you were right, the 9th, sorry.
Yeah. Hey, it happens. All right. I think I asked you, did you have anything to add to the staff report?
Not really, other than, I do want to preserve the property and protect the water. You can tell it's very natural all the way around the whole property, up to this point as well as I deemed, I needed to. I know that if we do the addition, I would have a little buffer for some natural grass right down by the riprap. So, as far as the drainage from the addition, there's I would have it flowing towards the woods to the south, so there'd be plenty of distance for the water to get filtered, and I think it's a really simple plan, but I think it would suffice. But you can give me suggestions.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I know what you're saying from our site visit, Darren, and Clint and I spent a fair bit of our time wondering where water would go or could be made to go. And, we agree that it wouldn't take much to direct it into that natural area. You've got a fairly large area that's has, an understory. I mean, it's not mowed, it's not, there's nothing in it.
Yep.
So, the water could be directed to that fairly easily. And I think we at the time, I don't know what the other board members think, but we at the time thought, and a stormwater plan approved at the time of permitting, by land services would be a condition that we would like to think about adding before even going to these questions, so that we could answer the questions better. And you're not opposed to that? A condition to have a stormwater plan approved by land services?
Yeah, I did supply one, right? Is that,
Well, you supplied one for the construction time, didn't you?
No, he said, sorry, Mr. Chair.
yep,
Go ahead.
We got an email later on.
I've got it right in front of me, yep,
I believe that was
yep.
all after the fact,
yeah,
everything.
it
Yeah.
was, yep.
But it might require a berm to do that, and of some kind.
Yeah, I was thinking down by the riprap, just making like a 2-foot natural grass patch all the way
Sure.
from end to end.
Okay, but
Mr. Chair.
go ahead.
So that's what we thought too.
Yep.
The other thing that we were thinking is, I don't know if we got a good picture of it, but when you go up that one tree that's straight up from the kayaks,
Right, yes.
okay, there's that tree.
Yep.
If we would put just a small little buffer or a berm to get you over to where the natural part is,
Yeah,
that would kind of flow that water that way, but it would also slow it down, and then it could trickle over. It don't have to be huge, just a little speed bump, so you could still mow over it and stuff.
Right where the arrow is on the,
You know,
yeah, what if I was to build like a little underground tile from that
probably,
tree to the-
probably wouldn't even have to be that complicated.
Just, how big of a berm would you
That
suggest?
would be, so-
Oh,
we don't
just a little-
decide.
yeah, we don't
Oh, yeah.
decide that, but
That
that's,
would be easier.
but that's all
why
you
I
need
think-
is just a little berm. It could be like that, just to direct the water.
Yeah.
Slow it down from running down the hill, that's all.
Yeah, that would be right up my alley.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be why we would condition it to have a stormwater
Yeah.
plan approved by land services.
Yeah,
In fact, at permitting time, you have to have a stormwater plan. This just puts it, makes it a little more concrete and makes it part of the land. And remember, it's not just for you, it's for the land.
Absolutely.
Variances
I know.
are for the land, not the landowner.
yeah,
There will be another landowner,
yeah.
so he may not be as
I've learned a lot. from this
environmentally friendly
process.
as you. So you're okay with a stormwater plan as a
Yeah, I just would
condition?
need to know who to submit it to and,
They'll let you know that.
okay, yeah.
Land services, yep.
Yep.
All right, I've lost track of where I'm at here. Anybody else have questions?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
few things. Actually, I don't know why you didn't do this, storm, or you had a shoreline assessment sheet that you probably should have gotten in the packet or whatever Darren usually sends out. You should have filled it out, because, I mean, just the way you've done things, you would have scored quite high. And I don't know, did you not receive it, or?
I probably did and just got lost in the paperwork. The calculation page, that's what I remember receiving. I don't remember seeing,
Okay. Yeah, I wish you would have done that. So another thing is, as I was out there Friday, I was looking at the prints, and it doesn't show it very well here. I don't know if it even shows it at all, where the location of the well is, but it looks like it's by the deck in the left-hand corner of the deck. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a.
Is
couple-
that even on this print showing where the well is?
It should be on the survey, yeah, there's a little mark, I believe.
I guess I couldn't find it like that, but I wanted to confirm that. And then the septic, I believe it was right across the driveway, and that's the drain field then down in the mound on the opposite side?
Correct.
Down there? Okay. Yeah, it doesn't look like you said that was really put on there, and that's why I was just like, that's kind of surprising. Must have missed that, because part of the reasoning behind you wanting to put this, was that because of the septic location?
Okay, anything else, Mark?
So another thing is here, I believe I wish I could scroll in closer, the distances from the lake. Here, it just doesn't seem, either my eyes are bad, but I believe the corner is 65 feet. And can these, the envelope we got here, can that be scrolled in a little closer? We can decipher that, because the corner of the cabin.
Yeah.
Well, the addition is 65 feet. So the red square, that's 65 feet from the lake. The existing cabin, the closest point today is 63.4 feet. And then the furthest away portion, or the furthest north part of the cabin, is 72.
What about the deck?
The deck is closer. So yes, the deck was built, the closest point was 55 feet.
It's not
according
in
to-
the shore impact zone, but it's,
Correct.
okay.
Yeah, and when the DNR came out last summer, the numbers for the water level point was different. So when so I thought that I had placed the addition 75 feet back based on their numbers. And so when the survey was done, I noticed that his numbers were different. And I don't know how that happened. I'm still, I'm beyond the 50 feet, but I'm closer than I thought. I didn't realize that my house went at an angle like that either. So.
Okay, thank you. Mark,
That's it at this
Okay.
moment. Thank
Okay.
you.
any other questions for the applicant?
What do you do, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
What are you putting in that addition, or what's addition for?
It's gonna be, I guess you could call it a great room. We wanted to add a fireplace, and in our existing space just wasn't conducive to the one room we had. So our family's grown, and that's the best place to add some space, because on the other side it would be too close to the neighbor. Then you've got the septic on the back side. That back corner, there could be room there, but you've got the kitchen and everything there, so that would be really difficult to move the kitchen. So it just seemed like a very obvious place for me and the easiest. But- So
Okay.
no bedrooms.
Mr. Chair, I'd ask one more question.
Go ahead, Clint.
So what would you say your practical difficulty is for coming for this variance?
The difficulty is that I have no other area that makes sense to add the space, because as I mentioned, Mr. Chair, I've got the neighbors on one side, the septic, and then the lake on the front side. So my difficulty is I'm within that 75 feet, because that's the only area I can add. Hopefully that answers it.
That helps. Okay, I'm done, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Clint. Anybody else have questions? Ready for public input? That shouldn't take long. Public input at this time? Is there any public input at this time? I have to ask 3 times. Any public input? As there is none, we'll close the hearing to public input. But any final questions? Are you ready to go with the criteria questions? Anything you'd like to add before we go to the
I
questions?
just want to say I did find where the well is on here. It's, if you look at,
Could you put it out on the,
oh, yeah.
up there?
It's this little diamond right here.
Okay, it is right on the corner of the deck, yeah. Okay.
The universal well symbol, huh? Thank you for pointing that out.
Sure.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay, we'll go to the questions, and then your input will no longer be needed, and we'll just discuss the facts that we have.
So, Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I had this on my notes here, one more question. You talked about using a French drain. I know you talked about different things. What is a French drain?
You know, that's a good question. The guy that did the survey kind of was talking to me about it. I think it's just a method of draining the rainwater or stormwater.
I actually know what that is.
Do you?
I don't know why.
I tried to do some
I'm full of
research on
useless
it.
information.
Yeah,
No, it's underneath the eaves, it's a tile drain underneath the eaves. So in lieu of a gutter, it could remove water, or in addition to a gutter.
yeah.
So it would have the same effect of a gutter or added effect to a gutter and be directed in the same direction. So,
Now I know of something more, I can go home.
or you can look it up and tell me I gave you the wrong answer.
I might lean towards the gutters. I'm not,
As for Dave,
It's the Polish version of a French drain answer.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I don't have a question, but I have just a comment, an observation when we were there. He alluded to trying to keep things as natural as he could, and he noticed there's a lot of cattails out there, so that's a good filtering thing. But when I looked around the property, also when you stand on the front side of the house and you look across to that tributary that's on, so if that's north, that would be west.
Yep.
If you looked, he had that mowed, but right by the shore, he had a lot of native grass there. He had kind of a grass buffer. So I just want, you go all the way around the perimeter, the water perimeter of this property. He does have somewhat of a grass filtering system. Is it big enough? I don't know. I think it is. It's way more than what most have. I just wanted to, if you guys noticed that when you're out there, when I looked across at that other tributary, there was the grass is probably 2 foot high there,
Yeah.
right close to the shore. So just wanted to let everybody know that if they didn't see it.
Okay, I'm looking at I guess I might have a question or two yet for you. Attachment B, that you provided as far as the stormwater and natural vegetation. You're proposing to do that, and that's a good plan, and it helps us answering these questions. But unless it's a condition, then the next landowner might just mow it down. Okay?
Okay.
So you're okay adding your attachment B in as a condition, that's what you plan to do?
Yeah.
Or maybe just the plan on planting wild vegetation, native grasses along the shoreline?
yeah, Mr. Chair, I probably would do the French drain or the gutters. I would lean towards the gutters. So if both of them are on there, I'd probably choose the gutters.
Okay. Okay, that would be addressed by the stormwater plan, which we've already agreed to add as a condition.
Yep.
But this is your shoreline plan,
Okay, yes,
and you're proposing to basically have a no-mow area right close to the riprap.
yeah, yep,
Do you plan to extend that your entire shoreline?
yeah, I would.
Okay, so the shoreline plan that you submitted would be a condition, and that's okay with you?
Yes,
Okay, and that's enforceable by land services, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So we have two conditions before going to these questions? Okay. All right,
Can we reiterate the two conditions, just so I get them down correctly?
stormwater plan at the time of permitting, and just this wildlife, the shoreline plan that was submitted by the applicant, maintained and, just maintained. And obviously installed, as he said. And I suppose that would be done at the time of construction. Would it be done by time of construction?
Yeah, I mean, it would take me a few hours to do it.
I mean, all the shoreline plan.
Yeah, it would be very easy to do.
And the materials are available to you? And you
Yeah.
plan on?
It's already grass, so I
Yep.
just put an edging in there and plant some.
And just not mow it?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, so at the time of construction?
Yeah.
That construction is completed, the shoreline plan would be completed
Yeah.
too? And the stormwater plan, obviously. Okay, thank you. Now we're clear to go to the questions. We know what we're talking about. Okay, the first, Darren, if you could go to the slide on the criteria questions.
Yep.
The first question is the request in harmony with the general purposes, intent of the Morrison County Land Use Ordinance and Comprehensive Plan. I'm going to take that one first. In harmony with the intent and purpose. The practical difficulty, I'd like to start with that because that is part of the variance request. There has, a practical difficulty has to be established. And then the practical difficulty and the proposal have to be taken into consideration as to how the intent and purposes of all the ordinances, shoreland ordinances are, maintained and enforced. So in this case, the practical difficulty is that, the property, it has that road insert into it, which makes your building envelope exceedingly small. You have, the house that you have is as close to inside that building envelope as almost possible, and was permitted back in the years when it was allowed to be 50 feet or farther from the lake. And your proposed addition is small and at least partially within inside the building envelope, as much as you can be in any part of that house. There's no other part of the house that it could be added on and still be in the building envelope. So intent and purposes. Variances are relief from the strictest interpretation of the law, of the ordinance. And once a practical difficulty is established, then it's, the intent of the ordinance is to maintain attractive shorelines, to maintain the lake, the health of the lake for the use of all, for natural resources, water management, groundwater and the stormwater, and the first 50 feet of the shoreline is basically sacred ground in our world, that shore impact zone. And everything you propose is out of that. The only thing that is in it is part of your deck. And also, as Mara pointed out earlier, your shoreline assessment would have been very high. The shoreline assessment is a rating in the first 50 feet of how green it is, how much impervious surface is in that area, how well treated it is, bushes, any other thing that stabilizes the landscape, along with the cattails that was noticed. You would have scored very high on that. And by adding the shoreline plan that you have and the stormwater plan, you continue to score very high on that. So intent and purposes of the ordinance are met by your proposal because, and your proposal is within the realm of ordinance because there is a practical difficulty, which is the shape of your property and the small size of the building envelope. and the choice that you made for the addition, and the size of it. So that's my opinion on number 1. Anybody else like to add to number 1? Okay, if not, go on to number 2. Is the applicant proposing to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by the land use ordinance? Clint?
Yes, I believe it is very reasonable. When we look at it, he has a 39,134 square foot lot. He has, after this proposed addition, he'll be at 4,330 square feet of stuff that's built on here, okay? That's 11% of his property. How many of these lake homes we go to or river homes are they down to 11% of their property only? Then when we look at his building envelope, so small because of what Dave stated with that road right away coming in there, whatever that little road is, he only has 3,700 square feet building envelope. Yes, he's over that building envelope, but still, when we look at it, he's only at 11%. That's almost unheard of when we get to these lake shores. And then what he's already has, the applicant has for shoreline protection and the added things that he wants to do, I think all that makes it, to me, just really a reasonable. His proposal is very reasonable for this property.
Thank you, Clint. Anybody else like to add to number 2? Okay, on to number 3. Will the issuance of the variance maintain the essential character of the locality? Marvin?
Yes, I believe it will. Point out a few things. It's on a dead-end lot. You're on the very end of it. Where you're proposing putting an addition will be on the side that it is no cabins on that side. And then you look on the front side of his cabin, it lines up with the neighbor's home. So it fits that way. He won't be making any changes. So then I also use what Dave used to use as the drive-by theory. You drive by the lakeside, you won't even notice it. As small as it is, and it is on the dead end portion of it, you won't hardly notice it. On the side that you drive in on, you won't notice it because it's pretty much secluded from there, and it's such a small amount. So, yeah, it does fit well in the locality.
Thank you, Marv. Anybody else like to add? I'd just like to add that the addition is also lower than the existing house. So it's not an imposing structure by any means, the addition. It'll be hardly noticeable. And it is very well designed. Your architect, Kevin Anderson, he's the top dog in lakeshore planning. And he's, again, done a beautiful job of blending that in, making the existing dwelling look better. As far as character, it's going to have a lot of eye appeal. And besides what Marvin said,
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Just one more comment too. If we look, this proposed structure doesn't meet the setback to the lake. But when we look at it, he's not encroaching any farther than what's already there. He's actually back what the house is and the deck. So there is no encroachment. So I just wanted to make that for the record that he's not encroaching any farther. Actually, he's back a little farther than what's already there for structures.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else on question number 3? Go on to number 4. Is the alleged practical difficulty due to circumstances unique to the property? Start with you, Brent.
Well, as previously stated here, we're looking at, this large conforming lot, but a very unique shaped building envelope. And what's existing there now cannot be moved in such a configuration to make it conforming now or in the future, so it will never be conforming. But that said, the location of the cabin, the location of the garage, in this area, the vast majority of that is utilized on the high ground years ago when it was built, proposes, and his proposal is utilizing as much as that building envelope as possible. That is the uniqueness of this land, and I think that's what creates the practical difficulty unique to this property, is just that it is a conforming lot, but its building envelope is such a shape that you can't build in it without a variance, and so that's the reason why we're here tonight.
Okay, anybody else on number 4? Okay, thank you, Brent. Number 5, is the need for the variance created by actions other than the landowner or prior landowners? My turn. I just have to go to the application that the applicant did. At the DRT meeting, they told you to answer yes to all the questions. But when you got to number 5, the need for the variance was created by the current owner. We decided we needed more living space. So by answering it that way, you're saying no. Yeah, it was all me that caused this. I think we all here disagree with you, and I'd like to just echo what Brent had just stated. For number 4 would be the other than the landowner or prior landowner. That's the reason for the variance, or the need for the variance, because of the creation of the lot, the size of the lot, the uniqueness of the building envelope, and you know, and also you just meet all the other standards very well.
Yeah.
So if you ever do this again, read that question real thoroughly.
Well, I meant to write what you said.
I don't even know what I just said. All right, anybody else on number 5? Okay, number 6, does the alleged practical difficulty involve more than economic considerations? Clint?
Yes, it does. When we had a lot of discussion tonight about the small building, the weird shaped building envelope. He's only got 10%, or he'll be at 11% overall square feet of building on this whole property. The other thing to look at is, where he's putting it, it's probably the least intrusive for this lot. No matter where he would put this addition, it wouldn't meet a certain setback. So I think where this, it fits the best. So it isn't just economics. It's more than that. It's just what's best for this lot. If he would put it, yes, it would cost more money in a certain area. It might be a little bit less if you put it on this side of the house, but then you don't meet this setback or that setback. So I think it's just, a lot of it has to do with, it's just less intrusive spot for this lot.
Thank you, Clint. Anybody else like to add?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to point out something else. You spent a lot of time discussing, what kind of steward you've been of the land and what you want it to be. And you talked about the stormwater plan. You talked about how we can continue to filter it. So, I mean, I bet we spent half our time discussing that tonight. It was just about managing the water, managing it for the future. So, yeah, we don't normally hear that. So we appreciate having someone to continue who want to be a steward and preserve one of our natural resources right there at Lake Alec, which is huge.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Barb. Anybody else? Yeah, I'd just like to add that, this lot has all these unique features, but at the same time, it really lends itself to very good shoreline management, because there can be a good stormwater plan to direct water into a wooded area that, is, not used for any purpose other than woods and natural cover. So there's a lot of things going into this. We've discussed them pretty thoroughly tonight, and the applicant is very well versed in all of them. So, anybody else on number 6? Okay, are we ready to vote? All right. The Is the request in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the Morrison County Land Use Ordinance? And we're answering these questions with two conditions in mind. Okay. Is the request in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the Morrison County Land Use Ordinance and Comprehensive Plan? Myself, the answer is yes. Clint?
Yes.
Marvin?
Yes.
And Brent?
Yes.
Number two, is the applicant proposing to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by the land use ordinance? Clint?
Yes.
Marvin?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
And myself is yes. Number three, will the issuance of the variance maintain the essential character of the locality? Marvin?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
Myself is yes. And Clint?
Yes.
Number four, is the alleged practical difficulty due to circumstances unique to the property? Brent?
Yes.
Myself is yes. Clint?
Yes.
And Marvin?
Yes.
Number five, is the need for the variance created by action other than the landowner or prior landowners? Myself is yes. Clint?
Yes.
Marvin?
Yes.
And Brent?
Yes.
Number six, does the alleged practical difficulty involve more than just economic considerations? Clint?
Yes.
Marvin?
Yes.
Brent?
Yes.
And myself is yes. Okay, all of the questions have been answered to the affirmative. Is there a motion to grant this request?
Mr. Chair, I would move that we grant this variance request with the two conditions.
Okay, I'll second that motion. We'll now vote on the motion. All in favor say aye, all opposed say nay. Any discussion? No discussion on the motion. Proceed to vote with a roll call vote. Marvin?
Aye.
Brent?
Aye.
Myself is aye. Clint?
Aye.
Motion carries. Your variance request has been, I hate to say granted.
I appreciate, thank you, Chair and Board, appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, and
Thanks for staying late.
good luck working with Land Services more.
Yeah,
Not that you'll need it.
thanks.
All right, on with the agenda. Minutes of the last meeting.
Make a motion to approve.
I would like to second that.
Okay, motion has been made by Clint, seconded by Marv. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, minutes accepted as presented. Any old business? Any new business?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
I'd make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Did
Aye.
Aye.
you say aye?
Yes.
I heard that. Meeting adjourned at 8 PM.